Hello, hello, hello. Right. Hello, happy Wednesday. I hope everyone is having a good Wednesday. I wanted to jump on real quick and talk about this, which is why you are not making any money in your business. So, if you are sitting there, if you are feeling frustrated, if you feel like, I feel like I'm doing all the things, like I'm trying this, it's not working, or like, I've done these five things, why isn't it happening for me? Or maybe like I've been doing it for a year, 6 months, or whatever, and you're just kind of wondering like why you're not making that money. Maybe you are not getting any clients, maybe you're just getting a couple clients, but you're not really getting anything long term, or you're not really getting anything high paying, and you're just starting to spin your wheels and feel kind of frustrated by it. And so, what I want to talk about today is why that's happening. So, I'm going to go over 5 ways to do this. Number one is that you are too afraid to actually sell anything. This is something I see new entrepreneurs run into a lot. It is definitely something that I remember struggling with in the early days of my business. And so what ends up happening, right, is that like you want to help people, like you have something that you want to do, you can help people, you can be of service to them, and you can really do that, but you're also afraid of selling. Like maybe you have all of these limiting beliefs around it. Maybe you have all of these things. Maybe you still think of like Mad Men when you think of selling, and you think of like the people that would go to door and try to sell you things you didn't need. And maybe your like parents had all sorts of like messed up money beliefs, and that like got into you. Like who knows what it is, but for whatever reason you are afraid to actually sell, and so you do one of a couple things. So you end up either just like incessantly posting and just sort of kidding yourself and being like, oh, I'm just building up my followers, I'm just doing this. You basically make up a bunch of reasons that you're not actually selling, and you probably know that these are BS, but you do them anyway because like that's easier, right? Like it's easier to sort of lie to yourself about that. Or maybe you're just constantly like, I'm not quite ready. Like, I'm not quite ready to, hey, Casey, you're like, I'm not quite ready to charge, or I'm not quite ready to do this, or I'm not quite ready to do that. And so, same thing, right? Like, you're kidding yourself into why you are not actually selling and moving the needle on this. Right. Another thing is that maybe you're just always waiting for the right time. It's just not the right time. It's not the right time. Again, excuses, excuses, excuses. Or like maybe you're doing that thing, or like, oh no, I'm selling. Like maybe you're watching this and you're like, yeah, Angela, like I am selling. What are you talking about? But if I go and I see what you're doing, you're maybe making like a post once a month, or like something here and there. You're like sheepishly kind of going like, oh, well, maybe like I'm going to wait for them to come to me. And then if they say that, then like if they say, oh yeah, like I definitely need what you want, and if they come to me, then I'll talk to them about it. Like that's not what I mean when I say selling. Like waiting for everybody to come to you, waiting for somebody to just like magically discover you and decide that you are everything they need in their life. It's probably not going to happen in the early days, right? Like you have to go to them, you have to put in that effort, and you have to show up. And so what number one really comes down to is, if you are not making money in your business, probably look at if you're actually selling or not, if you're actually showing up in that way. Because number one is that you are afraid to sell anything. So moving on to number two, maybe your price is just too low. I see this one a lot. If you feel like you're not making money in your business, probably your price is way too low. Again, I can speak to when I was an early entrepreneur, and I remember like I went through all the things, right? So like I started off at $0. I took on like beta clients, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna make sure I know how to do this. And then I remember slowly kind of increasing, and I remember I would do things for $100, $200, $300. I know that felt like so much at the time, and I get it. It does when you were just starting out. But I remember charging $300 a month for what should have easily been like thousands of dollars a month, and just burning out, right? Like just burning out so fast on that because it's not sustainable. You're trying to do it all in the beginning, right? So you're probably charging too low, and you're probably taking on too many like free or beta or low cost whatever clients. And so you're trying to do all these things and show up in the best way possible because like that's just who you are, and you end up seriously burning out. That is very, very difficult to come back from. It is so much easier to avoid burnout than to try to recover from it. It takes a really long time. Again, speaking from experience here. And I also want you to keep in mind, like, who do you think you are attracting with those low offers, right? Um, like I can tell you from my own experience, when I was working, and even now, like, if you get clients that come to you and they're like, oh yeah, like $300 is all I can do, or whatever, and you charge $1,000 a month, it's so easy when you come at it from like a scarcity mindset to be like, oh no, what if I don't get those clients? What if those people don't come back to me? What if this is the only opportunity I get? Or I really want to help them. I really want to do this, and so I'm just going to do this. Stop. It like you did not build a business to bend around other people. If you find yourself starting and building a business and you're bending around what other people in that way, then it's not really your business, is it? It's sort of everybody's business, and that is definitely not what you set out to create. So just stop, first of all, doing that. And just also keep in mind that this isn't always the case, but a lot of times people who are going to lowball you are not really valuing what it is you have to offer. And that's an important thing to keep in mind too. If you charge $1,000 a month and somebody's trying to negotiate and be like, I'll pay you $300 a month, well, then they don't value you. They obviously don't value you. And so why are you going to work with that person? It's going to be, I can tell you every time I did that in my business where I would cut somebody a deal like that when they were trying to negotiate, it always was miserable. It always made me miserable, and it was just a terrible experience. And so I learned the hard way. I don't want you to have to learn the hard way. And so that is why I'm bringing this up. And I also want to mention that I do really believe this, which is that people who see the value in you and your service and what you're offering them, they're just always going to be willing to pay. It almost doesn't even make a difference what you charge. So I just want you to get out of that headspace, because I know for a long time I was really afraid of raising my prices, and when I did, it was amazing to me that number one, the caliber of client increased, so much better, and then number two, it wasn't I wasn't attracting any less clients. If anything, I was attracting more clients, and if somebody is willing to pay $300, they're definitely willing to pay $1,000. If they're willing to pay $1,000, they're willing to pay $1,500. So I just want you to stop thinking that people, can't afford what you have to offer, or that you have to keep your prices low. You are the only person keeping yourself in that very uncomfortable box. So, get out of it. Okay, so moving on to number 3 reason why you are not making money in your business, and that is that, like we talked about, you are negotiating your prices. Don't do this. I don't know how many ways I can say this. Don't do it. Don't negotiate your price. You are a business. You're not a yard sale. When I hear of people negotiating their prices or asking if they should negotiate their prices, that's the first thing I think of. And listen, I love yard sales. I love flea markets. But that is not the same thing, right? People cannot walk up to you and just say, oh, what about this? Would you take this? Or what if we did less of this in exchange for this? No, you can't do that. There's a lot of reasons you can't do this, and I don't recommend doing this, not the least of which that it's it's a mindset shift, and it's a boundary, right? So if you are going to let people tell you how to run your business, if you're going to let people come in and say, I don't want to pay you this much, so what can you do for me? You're telling yourself that you don't value yourself, that you don't really believe in yourself, that you don't really believe in, because you structured your package that way for a reason, right? You probably carefully thought about, this is what I'm going to offer, this is how I'm going to offer it, this is the price point. And by the way, your price point was probably too low to begin with, so keep that in mind too. You know your expertise, and so you know why you structure things the way you do. And if somebody's going to come in and try to undercut that, undercut the services, undercut the price, undercut you, it's not somebody you want to work with, right? If there's somebody you want to work with, if they see the value, they're going to meet you at the price level and the service level that you have established after you, the expert, carefully thought that out, right? So I want you to stop negotiating and stop making all these reasons. Just stop. You cannot let you just can't let people dictate this. And yeah, just keep that in mind. Not a yard sale. And also, I know this particular example is overused, but I do love it, which is just think about any other industry, right? If you were hiring somebody to come, a plumber to come in, or somebody put up blinds or whatever, you would not negotiate with them. You would not come in and say, hey, yeah, I know this is really important. I know that my sink is, everything is flooding in my life and I'm miserable, but I'm wondering if you could take $20 instead of the $500 you charge. What do you think about that? I can provide the tools, No, you wouldn't do it. So big no there. Okay, number 4 reason that you're not making any money is that you just don't have a streamlined system for actually getting clients. So I used to do a lot of throwing spaghetti at the wall. It was okay, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just starting my business, so what else was I going to do, right? I didn't even know what a business coach was. So I'm not saying you should definitely experiment. There is so much experimentation in entrepreneurship, and that is amazing, and that is fun. And I think there's something to be said for a little bit of that, but I do also think there's a fine line between experimenting and having no idea what you're doing and just sort of charging for it anyway. And so I think if you're 6 months in, if you're a year in, if you're 2 years in, and you're still kind of just hoping that things work out for you, but you don't have any strategy, you don't have any plan, what you're doing hasn't been working so far, stop doing it. Why are you still doing it at that point? If it hasn't worked yet, it's probably not going to suddenly work, right? So you need to stop that. And this is what I see happening a lot is new entrepreneurs just don't have any sort of system, especially for getting clients. And so they're waiting for people to just discover them, or they're just sort of like hoping things will happen, or they do a little bit of outreach and then, they get busy or they forget or they get scared or whatever it is. And then they just stop and weeks go by, months go by, and they're like, oh my God, I don't have any clients. And it's, and it's just this cycle. So you need to have a streamlined system for actually getting those clients, because if you're just hoping that everything is going to work out for you and you're not going to do anything, I mean, that's a terrible way to run a business. You have to have a system. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know where you are going. Again, imagine if anybody else did that. Imagine if you went to your favorite restaurant and they said, we weren't really sure. We didn't know if people were going to show up, so we just, we didn't order the food. That's not really a good analogy. But you know what I'm saying? Like, if you would not expect somebody else to, I mean, you wouldn't tolerate it anywhere else. So, like, why are you tolerating it with yourself, right? Number 5, last thing, is that you are trying to do it all alone. There is a time for that. When you were just getting started, I get it. You got to figure it out. Like, it makes sense. But there's going to be a point where you can't keep doing it alone. You need to have a team. You need to have a business coach. You need to have, maybe you need to have a VA. Maybe you need to have, like, whatever it is, whatever your business is, you're going to need to have people there to help you along. I wasted literally years trying to do it all myself. Like, years of my life I wasted because I did not want to spend a few hundred or a few $1,000s on the help I needed. I would waste so much time. Like, I remember when I started my business without a website, but when I finally decided to do a website, I'm not kidding, it probably took weeks anyway. I mean, I don't even want to think about the hours. It had to have been upwards of, 80, 90, 100 hours at the very least. I'm sure it was more than that. And I could have easily paid somebody like a couple hundred or a couple $1,000s to do that. And instead I wasted like a month or 2 months of my time. And I mean, I cannot emphasize enough that I was so resistant to bringing people on, both team members and a coach for myself, for a long time. And I literally wasted years of my life because I did not want to lose dollars. And when I think about that now, I think that is insane. I am not going to get that time. I will always get money back. There's so much money out there. There's so much money out there. You can always get money back. Even if you lost your job, even if your business fell apart tomorrow, you could always find a job. Maybe it wouldn't be, exactly what you wanted, but you can always find a job. There's always money. And I don't even want you to think like that, because of course your business is going to succeed. But what I'm saying is that I just wasted so much time and energy. I will never get those years back. My 20s, I'm never getting those back. And I wasted them struggling and like killing myself and putting myself in burnout and like affecting my health and migraines and tension headaches and time away from my family, some family that I don't even have anymore, because I insisted on doing it myself. I mean, when I think about it now, it's crazy that I did that. And so I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to come at this from an angle of like, I'm just going to burn myself out and lose years of my life, because it's just like, it's really, really not worth it. And you just don't have to do it alone. You just don't. There's just no reason. And so I can't emphasize that enough. So, recap the whole thing. 5 reasons that you're not making money in your business. Number 1, you are afraid to actually sell anything, and sell it with gumption, might I add. Okay? Like we talked about, it doesn't count to make one post and call that selling. Number 2, your price is too low. Number 3, you are negotiating. You are acting like a yard sale. You are not a yard sale. Number 4, you have no streamlined process for actually getting clients. And number 5, you are doing it all alone. I hope this was helpful. It was a little bit of tough love, but sometimes I think we need a little bit of tough love. And it comes from a place of actual love, because I want to see you succeed. Obviously, you're going to succeed. And so you've just got to get the tools in place. You've just got to know what you're doing, and you've got to stop letting these things get in your way. Believe me, I remember going through all these things. Like I said, you don't need to do it. You don't need to do it. You've been struggling long enough. Now is your time. So if you want to chat more, if you want to talk a little bit more about how to actually make money, so if you are ready to actually start making money, hitting consistent 5K months in your business, then comment the word money and let's talk about it. All right, I hope you have a good weekend. I will see you soon. Bye.